edition, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we'll give you a second. Please reach out, share, like, comment to your friends, get them connected on this thing. If you have a watch party that you can start, we'd love for you to do it. We're going to have a great show. We have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Earl Dix Jr., also known as Ellis, a great musician, entrepreneur, recording artist, father, husband, coach, teacher. Man, this man busy out there, boy. I don't think he's a sleeper, though. But, yeah, we got him going. So please connect to your friends, do your watch parties. And, of course, my great, fabulous host on my side, Miss Laquita Monley, checking in from the other side of the world. Where you at, Laquita?
Man, Vic, I'm let's just say I'm on the other side of the North Atlantic, in the middle of the distance.
Nice. Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. It's good.
Always good. Well, I'm glad the technology allows us to be here. So before we dig into this, it wouldn't be right unless, obviously, I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan. Before all of this happened, obviously, I've followed his career from Lower Merion in Philadelphia high school. I'm older than he was, actually. So he's a guy that actually inspired me. One of the few people that's younger than me. I heard Cube say that actually inspired me. And his work ethic, his drive, his will to fight when all odds are against him, when pain, everything else is holding us down. And I think we can relate to that, right? As entrepreneurs, as parents, when the odds and the chips are against us, sometimes you just got to keep fighting. And so that was something I really admired about him. So those out there, we really want to give our tribute to those that were lost in that, not just Kobe, obviously, but his daughter and the other 7 passengers. There were some other young people on that helicopter yesterday. So our prayers and thoughts go out to their families as well and their friends and classmates. You mentioned, Ellis, real quickly, you're a coach, right, for basketball.
Yes, sir.
What was that like? Did you have to communicate that to the kids on your team?
I did, and I didn't think I would have to, honestly, at first, because I'm thinking, Kobe and LeBron, that's more my generation. That was pretty hard yesterday just to watch the reactions, and an icon and somebody that you grew up watching playing is gone at an early age. So I'm thinking players might be they may know what's going on but not affected. But I had one of my players came in, head down, and it didn't even click. I'm like, man, what's going on? You all right? He was like, well, I'm okay, but I'm not okay. I'm like, what's going on? He was like, Kobe Bryant passed. I'm like, man, So like I told him, man, you have an opportunity, man. Take his mentality, and you want to honor him. Honor him on the court. Honor him in the classroom.
There you go.
Take that mentality that he had, and use your positives to motivate you, and even the negative things that people may have said about you or whatever. Use those things to kind of, excel. So yeah, I had to talk to the whole team. After I talked to him, I was like, well, I might as well address everybody, and they had Kobe stories. I didn't think they would have them, but they keep up with the game. So
what age group is the team?
I coach middle school, and these are 7th graders. This wasn't even the 8th grade group. So I'm like, Kobe's reached a wide range, of age groups and generations, man. So
wow,
yeah.
Big
news. When I watched the story as it was unfolding, my first thought actually was, because Ben spent a lot of time as our kids' coaches in AAU type sports. So the entire time we lived in Europe, he coached their basketball, he coached their football, he even coached baseball. David had a phase where he wanted to be a baseball player. He even coached baseball for a little while. And, I couldn't help but to think that could have been me, like just as easy of them walking out the door on any given, because the games are Friday, Saturday, Sunday for travel sports. On any given day, being in another group of dads and teen moms would be loading up in their various forms of transportation, going across Europe to go to, so these kids can play. And so that was that hit home for us in a lot of different ways. Of course, Kobe being the icon that he is, he's definitely going to be missed. But just, as a wife and as a mother, cannot imagine, the feeling that those loved ones had when they got those calls and they got those notifications that said, hey, this thing happened. You know, your loved one leaves out the door, and within the next hour, your life changes forever. It's like, wow, you know. So
Very, very
definitely,
tragic.
Daughter
yeah,
too.
definitely, our thoughts and prayers go out to all of the families, for everyone
Yeah.
that was lost in that, because though he was sports icon, he was doing what everyday folks do. He was going to support his baby.
Yeah.
And a group of young people, and like all of the other parents that were on board, and the other coaches that were on board, they were going to support their kids and their youth in an everyday activity that everybody loves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I guess that is a great reminder. I see somebody on a Facebook over here, new meaning to tomorrow is not promised. In the blink of an eye, life has changed, you know, and I sent out a post earlier that just, you know, and again, we hate that these type of things have to remind us, refresh us, but not that we don't love our family and things, but to not take for granted that could be the last opportunity for you to say, to hug, to kiss, to do that. And so we should all go out with intention every single day when we're interacting with our family, friends, coworkers, clients, colleagues, that this potentially could be that last time. And, you know, not to be negative, but just to know that I really appreciate you for sure. So anyway, we just wanted to make sure we tribute that gentleman out for his great legacy, and again, send our prayers to the families of all those that were lost yesterday in that helicopter flight. So, okay, Ellis, you're a musician, brother. You write worship songs, you do poetry. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
And I guess if I start from the beginning, I was born in Fort Rucker, Alabama. Family's in Troy, Alabama. So when people ask, I say I'm from Troy. So, but I grew up in Texas. So to me, I always say I get the best of both worlds.
That's right.
I got Alabama and Texas. So grew up there, started playing drums from a young age. My dad put drumsticks in my hand early. I started playing drums around maybe 4 or 5 years old. And I stuck with drums for a long time, picked up a few other instruments, keyboard and a little bit of guitar. And then as I got older, I started writing a little bit. I loved poetry in school. Never necessarily a rapper per se. I didn't grow up wanting to be a rapper, and I like that I have rap dreams. But I love poetry though, and I love that part of language arts, and just writing songs in general. So the crazy part about the music is I didn't, before accepting Christ, man, I didn't rap. Didn't know much about it. Didn't keep up with it. Didn't know, probably most of the history that most people would think I would know. I didn't know anything about it. Started doing Christian music, rapping and writing worship songs, man. So besides the music, I am a father of 2, Ishakar and Rhythm. Ishakar just had a birthday, just turned 6. Rhythm just turned 3. My husband, my wife Sherelle, I'm sure she's watching. My son, and everything else you mentioned. The teacher, coach. Try to do it all, man. Anything I can do to land impact. So I enjoy it. I enjoy everything I do.
Absolutely, awesome. Man. That's awesome. Laquita?
No, I was just going to say, when I met Earl for the first time, it was, I can say it now, make me feel so old. When we first moved back to Texas back in 2002, my mom was a member of the church that my family would eventually join. And we'll always see this kid in the drum booth, just banging away on the drums. And he was also, at the time he was a teenager, active part in our youth ministry. So I kind of got to know him through my oldest son, Dariel, who should be watching this broadcast because he said he got some questions. But the impact that Ellis has had on youth in Killeen, and a lot of the different things that we've seen him minister at in music has landed an amazing impact. And just to see where he was when I met him as a teenager and where he is now as a husband and a father and a coach, and landing an impact that goes out, even outside the borders of our country. It's pretty amazing to watch that journey.
I appreciate that.
Wow, really. That is amazing. So with your music, you're performing. Are you doing performances? Tell us a little bit about where you perform and that type of thing.
Well, actually, It's been a while. I actually I took a break. I released a project in 2000, I want to say 14 or 15, and that's the fam. That's where you were mentioning earlier about the
Right.
gospel roots. Somebody actually gave us that, and I didn't never think about that. The whole thing with fam is we wanted to bridge a gap. There's a weird gap to me where you hear people say, "Well, this is white church and this is black church," and we wanted to bridge a gap because we would listen to the radio. Like I would listen to like RK Loves or certain radio stations where on one station I would hear majority black artists, and then one station I would hear all white artists, and I'm like, well, how come we can't mix?
Yeah.
What's the problem? But we wanted to kind of bridge the gap and kill that whole that label, and so we came together from different churches, different backgrounds. Man, we were all friends, but just different. Maybe one was more of a contemporary church. One we had a couple guys that were like in more Kojic type church. And we all came together and brought our different styles and backgrounds and mixed that together, man, and came up with something. It's hard to put words to explain it. And somebody was like, "Man, y'all are like the gospel roots, man," and it has like an underground sound with kind of a gospel fusion type of sound. So we did the live music, with the rap on top of it, and that was a special moment. So after that album, released like singles and stuff like that, but I took a break between having a son, daughter, really starting my teaching career, kind of slowed down a little bit, and then more recently, even like with the brand, the birth of the brand Treaders. Another musical project was birthed as well. So got back in the studio. Haven't done an event in a while by choice. I just try not to take any and everything at this point, just to be running around, time is precious, and I just don't want to be running around just doing stuff just to do it. But I'm kind of getting more, accepting more things now and trying to get back out there and be consistent. But it was by choice to take a break, but I think it's time to go ahead, and I think I still have a little bit more to say, so yeah, record a few more projects, man, and get moving. But just want to do stuff that's meaningful, and not just out there just rambling,
You're doing it. So if you could tell me, for those that are listening that are young entrepreneurs just getting started out in the music industry, what would you say would be the top 3 things that you would recommend, that these are things that a young artist must do to ensure their the integrity of their music is kept, that basically that they have a good footing in this industry? Because I've heard so many different things about how artists, put in all this work and they don't get the reward that they should get because of various things. Could you talk to us about like maybe 3 things that you would say you just must have in place as an artist getting started?
Definitely. 3 things. I would say number 1, you got to know who you are, your identity, and, be sure, because people try to make you so many things, especially with, what's popular right now. Everybody wants to sound like everybody else, whatever's on the radio. But if you know who you are and, you're secure in that, you have something that, again, doesn't sound like everybody else. You have something unique, God made you a special individual, you want to show that. So just be sure and confident in who you are for one. So that way, when opportunities open up, nobody can, sway you or tell you otherwise and tell you that you need to do this because, maybe to get you more money. At the end of the day, people respect people who kind of stick to their guns and not try to be somebody else. They respect people who are original. So know who you are. Number 2, be consistent. Be consistent. Whatever you're doing, whether it's rapping, singing, or whatever, if you're gonna put out, a mixtape every 2 years, make sure you do that every 2 years, or have a plan. Make sure that, hey, if I'm gonna do 4 shows a week, I'm gonna do 4 shows a week. I'm not gonna, do 2 that week and then decide I'm tired. If I'm gonna go out and push a CD at Walmart, so I'm gonna do that at a certain time. Be on a schedule. I think if you do that yourself, by the time an executive, gets a hold to you or a label, they see you already consistent and You're committed, to your vision and to what you want to do, and they just can push you at that point. So again, identity, consistency. I think just probably this should have been number one is having a vision, knowing your plan, where you want to go, how far you want to go, and set high goals for yourself. So write them down. That's big. That's important. Write down the vision and stick to it, man. There's so much more, like, you can add on having the right people around you, people who are not what we call yes men, telling you, oh yeah, that sounds good, just to make you feel good. I have people that's gonna be honest, man. The musicians I worked with them, I mean, they would tell me in a minute, like, man, that's not good, or this mix is not good. Let's not release that like that. And sometimes it upsets you because it's not what you want to hear, and you feel like you put so much into it. But if you hear that now, with the people around you, then it won't be so bad when you put it out in the public and you start getting a bunch of different opinions. Because at least you put out your best work and you didn't put out something that you shouldn't have put out anyway. So there's so much. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But I think those three main things: knowing who you are, being consistent, and just having a vision, that'll take you far.
And it sounds like you're talking about guidance for young musicians out there, but you could be talking to entrepreneurs, you could be talking to career folks, you could be talking to anybody with this guidance. I mean, that's really good information. When we put this show together probably a year ago, Create Your Future Self, and it's really about trying to help people to envision where they're going with their future, with their business, with their personal life, with their health, with their finances, with their credit, with their real estate investing journey. And so everything you just laid out, being consistent, know who you are, having an identity. And again, you mentioned it, have a vision for where you're going. It's hard for you to kind of map out the path if you don't even know where you're going. You think about a GPS, GPS will have you all over town. If you didn't put in the right address, you got to have a final destination. And there could be 70 ways to get there, but it's got to be an end destination,
right,
or at least a destination that you're trying to get to, and then you can take it further. So looking at your bio, Ellis, you mentioned this, your music, Freedom Fire Music. Freedom Fire Music. I love that. And I'm curious to know, what does freedom mean to you?
And freedom is going back to what I just said, know who you are, man. And Freedom Fire Music, again, that was with them, and that was the ability to express yourself, man. That's the freedom part, express yourself, not worrying about what people think about you, not letting people put labels on you. Hey, man, you're a black man, you shouldn't like this type of music, or you're white, you shouldn't like this type of music. Just be free, man. Express yourself. Whatever you feel in worship at that time, or whatever you feel like, offering up, express yourself in that way. Not worried about what clothes you have on, and what your hair looks like, and if you have, you got a piercing or whatever it is, anything that people will kind of try to label and stop you from being yourself. That's the freedom part. The fire is just the passion, man. Whatever you do, have passion behind it. I think when we do stuff without a passion for it, eventually, it kind of falls. But a lot of times when you have a love for something, man. I know Pastor Bishop Gracious always tell us whatever gets you started is normally what's going to keep you going. About something, that original thing, it normally come back to you and keep you going, and sometimes you want to quit. So that's the freedom fire, man, and mix it together with the music, and that's where we got that title from.
I love that.
Awesome. You mentioned too, one of the points you mentioned was having a team, the right people around you. And that's something that Vic and I talk about all of the time on this show, that we have to have, we call it our power team, those individuals who are key to the growth and development of our brands. And they play integral roles. And those people have to have the ability to be able to give us constructive criticism and feedback that we might not necessarily like as entrepreneurs. As musicians, you have your sound, you know what you want to do with that particular piece of music and where you're going, but it's the same truth in business. I have a vision and I have a plan, and I know in my head the way that I want this thing to go. And I've even gone so far as to write it out on paper. But once I submit that to, say, the bookkeeper, accountant, attorney, or whoever, and they put their red pencil through it. I'm not happy about that.
Right.
When somebody tells me no, or to change this direction, or don't do this, or don't do that, but I have to have those people around me in order to for my business to grow. And I think that was my camera. I think that was really good that you said that, because I hadn't even thought about that in terms of, as musicians, the people that you have around you to help, to give you that positive or that necessary feedback on your music.
Yeah, it's important for everything. Like with this new project, I'm actually launching my first book as well, and that's a huge part. The editing, because you want stuff, how you want to release it, you want it a certain way. When you get somebody editing your stuff and they're like, this is bad, this is a run-on sentence, you need to fix this, fix that. And the inside, you're like, man, well, this is this is how I want to release it. But you gotta have people that can check you and fix that. You don't want to put out crazy stuff or put out a crazy product. So yeah, it's important. You got to be humble enough and willing, to take that advice and accept that, hey, I may not know everything. And, there are times, especially musically, where there's a difference in opinion, but I may have had a vision and I stuck with it because I really felt like, no, this is how I want to do it. And it worked out, but in most cases, you do need people around you to kind of challenge your opinion and what you think. I think that expands your thinking too, and makes you kind of think outside of your box. So yeah, that's important.
Absolutely. You mentioned two things that I can definitely relate to. So I did write a book last year, and you're right. You want your original voice, to be represented there. But the thing is, with me, I write like I talk, which ain't always that sharp. You know what I mean? so you need those experts to kind of tell you. And I remember getting those files back from them and having to read through one paragraph like that they edited versus the one that I sent to them. And, I ended up reading my book like 17 times before it got released, just because we were trying to make sure it was right. But you need the team players, no matter what the industry is, but in particularly as it relates to the creative world, you want to still keep your originality, but you do need some professionals that can help you get it out there. So let's talk a little bit about your clothing. You mentioned Treaders, right? Yeah, so let's talk about your clothing, how that came about, and what's your mission behind that?
Okay. Well, the story behind Treaders. So I was sitting in a church service one day, and my pastor was preaching a message about going from tripping to treading. It was just like one of the messages where, like, I felt like, how people say, man, that message, like, he was talking directly to me. I'm like, people were jumping and stuff, but I'm like, man, they're not getting what I'm getting. Like, what he's talking about, like, this is for me. So it came out of Luke 10:19, and he was talking about, behold, I give you power to tread over serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. And I'm like, hold on, man, like, that's a shoe, man. Like, that's a shoe. So originally, Treaders is a shoe, and that's what the original goal. That's the goal to get there. So I started sketching that day. I was sketching out, had all these different ideas, revelations behind the shoe, what it meant, walking in dominion, just kind of walking in authority, everything from the bottom of the shoe, sketching it out. And what happened was I took some steps to get a patent, tried to go through a company to try to get a prototype of it and everything. And I got discouraged by numbers because I'm like, all right, this is really expensive. I don't know anybody who does shoe production. Designers, they're talking about patents. They did this whole analysis on it to see, as far as the originality, make sure nobody else had it and all that stuff. But the money kept, becoming an issue. So I put the idea down like 3 or 4 times, man, and they were like years apart. I was like, well, I'll put it up, put my notebook up, and I think about a year or two ago, it just clicked. Like, sometimes you gotta crawl before you walk. And I'm like, man, Treaders is more than a shoe. Let's start with t-shirts. Let's start with clothing, because even with the apparel, you can be reminded that, hey, I'm a treader, I'm an overcomer. Whatever, steps in my way, I can overcome that obstacle. God gave me the power to do so. So he started giving me all these ideas for, shoes, for shirts and things like that. And basically, not to like throw away the shoe idea, but you got to start somewhere, and eventually we'll get to the shoe. But that's what Treaders is just a reminder of the power we have within, over everything. You can even probably really going back to what we talked about with Kobe, the mentality that I can't be stopped. unless I quit myself or God just tells me to stop. But that mentality that I'm going to keep going no matter what. I can tread over that situation. I'm bigger than that. So yeah, that's where it began. A church service, sketching shoes, quitting a few times and like getting back to it and having a team around me to say, hey man, try it again. Do it again. What's going on? You haven't put nothing out in a while. You gave up on the vision, and I finally found a good circle, that kind of pushed me in the right direction. And last summer, actually, Rodney, he called me. It was like, man, this summer you need to take this time and like really do some lead work and build a good foundation and start somewhere. And I started putting them on a website and a Spreadshirt. I was just putting them up there, and with those sites, it's like drop shipping, so you don't get a big return off of it. But it's just like, hey, it's out there, and that was a start. Hey, I have T-shirts. You can go to this website and get them. And it went from that to people saying, all right, man, he's really grinding and pushing these shirts. I'm buying my own shirts. Like buying my own stuff off the website and wearing it, and then buying it for other people, sending it to athletes. Doing all kind of stuff, and people were like, "Look, man, have you ever thought about maybe pressing from home?" And from there, I got blessed with a press machine, and I started doing them at the house. So now locally, I can kind of service people as well. So
nice.
It starts with something so small, and just as you work in the grind, sometimes your vision gets bigger, and you just add on. You keep writing. Okay, I can go here now. I've done this. Let me add on. And, sooner or later, man, we'll have a shoe.
There you go. That's awesome.
The shoe was coming. The shoe was coming. The shoe was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the combination of what you're doing musically, and what you're doing with your brand, with Treaders, and your book that's coming out, can you see anything like it with those? Because those are like three different areas. As an entrepreneur overall, what are some wisdom points that you've used to be successful in all three of those areas?
Going back to earlier, being consistent, because especially as you get older, like when I was younger, per se, and I started doing music, I had a bunch of support from church, family, everybody. And they see that, and it's kind of intriguing as a young person, especially a teenager. Everybody's willing to, all right, man, I support. They want to, do so much for you. As you get older, people want to see you kind of work, because, you're an adult now. I'm not just going to give you money or just write you a check and, you need to see what you're doing. So the consistency and working hard, and people see that and they want to support. I have people send me stuff all the time, like they'll send a cash app and I'm like, all right, did you order 5 shirts or something? They're like, nah, that's just for you to build on your brand, get something that you need or something like that. Just because they see the hard work, I don't go around throwing my cash app around like, hey, send me this, send me that. Not as an adult. I'm like, I just feels wrong, but people see you and they see the consistency in you work. Integrity, I try to treat every customer like it was, the biggest person in the world calling me to do a shirt for them. I try to take my time, get it right, not treat people different because, maybe they can't help me. You never know what door is going to open, just treating people the right way, having their stuff to them on time. And I do stuff sometimes and Sherelle's like, man, you driving that over to them? You taking it? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking it to them. Right now, I'm Amazon Prime. I drop it off. I try to, just customer service. I do it. And it drives her crazy sometimes, but she sees it though. She's like, just the wisdom and balance of me not overworking myself, but just consistency and integrity. And I think that takes you a long way. Even with music, putting out the best quality that you can put out. You may not be able to spend thousands and millions of dollars on certain stuff, but you do the best that you can do and put out, something quality to the people that support you and spend money on your stuff. So, same way with the book, just try to have integrity and, speak truth and ultimately just let people know that I'm just a normal person like you are, that, dedicated some time and was consistent. You can do it too. You got a story to tell too. You can put your story out.
And that's a good point.
Never thought I'd write a book.
My camera is doing its own thing today.
That's all right.
It keeps moving.
It's bowing and praying to what this man's saying. You know what I'm saying? He's speaking some wisdom out there. I mean, you mentioned a couple. Well, all of the points were excellent. I mean, but some things that are really important for entrepreneurs and business leaders out there to know is just always be so great at what you're offering. Don't worry about, sometimes we try to belittle that customer, or this person's not important enough. Man, you don't know who that person is connected to. So you always want to deliver the best possible quality, the best integrity, as you mentioned. I have this thing where I say, just be awesome, every time. And, we had a guest a couple weeks ago, Brandon Powell, I think 3 weeks ago now. He's a branding expert. And one of the things he and I talk about all the time is, it's almost like treating your customer like your grandmother taught you to treat people. Just treat people like they genuinely should be respected, as we all want to be treated, right? And this money is hard to come by. And so if somebody's putting it in to your business and supporting your brand, respect that and give them way more than what that dollar amount is that's coming out of their hand. Try to give double the value. So I love that. And for young people out there, operate with high integrity, please, because people will always remember you, and you never know who's watching from down the street, around the corner, and now online. Your stuff is out there forever. It could be 17 months later, somebody sees something crazy that you did online, and like, man, I ain't about to spend no money with this business. So I really appreciate and respect that you said that integrity factor, and just always giving the highest quality deliverable, whatever it is, music, shirts, books, whatever that is. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that and the work ethic, the drive to get there. I love the fact that you said, as adults, people want to see results. As entrepreneurs, and we're looking to investors or potential investors, you're absolutely right. They want to see, okay, what is it that you're doing, and how is my investment going to be beneficial to me? And with that work ethic, I get a lot of people that'll call or message, and they want to know how to start their journey as an entrepreneur. And it's not a get rich quick thing. It's not something that I had the idea today, I did some research over 2-week time period, and I know what needs to be done.
Right.
No, it doesn't work like that. You're constantly doing the research, and money is a factor. So if money is a roadblock, then what can we do to overcome that roadblock? Nobody's just going to give it to you because you're fabulous. This isn't the Shark Tank, but even on Shark Tank, I've seen some fabulous ideas come on Shark Tank, and because the owners weren't prepared, they didn't get funded.
Got to know the numbers,
Yep, they didn't get funded. So they couldn't give those contingencies of what will happen if this doesn't work out the way you fantasize it in your mind. And so the way you kept coming back to your idea, even though you went through all of the steps, and even though money was an issue, like you could crawl before you could walk, you drop shipped, and now you're doing them there, and you're Amazon Prime, and you are the Amazon Prime. What will you do? I remember back in the day when I did listen to rap music, I remember a piece of an episode. It was like, show how old I am, right, Vic? Diddy was on BET with Donnie Simpson, and he was talking about how he made his CDs and was himself, and then would sell them out the back of his car. As entrepreneurs, we all have a story of what we did in order to get our brand out ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to grind like that, then maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Ellis, I have a good question for you. So again, we call this create your future self. So what does your future self look like?
And to me, like, it's funny, man. So I talk with Rodney a lot. I'm like, man, one day, man, I'm gonna get this call, man, and like, they're gonna be like, I mean, how quick can you get to New York? Like, can you get down? So some executives is gonna call. So I eventually I vision myself all the time, at executive tables, man, talking to these big execs and investors, man, of where do you want the brand to go next? Even if it's a Reebok or Nike or somebody with the shoe, I always envision myself sitting down with them and talking about not maybe whatever the option is, if it's selling the brand to them or if it's a percentage of the brand pushing, whatever it is, I envision myself doing that. I envision the shoe being in a store, going in the mall or wherever, an affordable shoe for people who can't, buy $200 shoes. I envision being able to donate shoes to schools. You know what I mean? Especially as a coach, I see it all the time. I see the shoes some of the kids wear. Being able to just kind of be that outlet. Um, yeah, I envision just being as big as any other brand. It's not bigger, but something affordable, man, and just being able to be a blessing to others. Being able to give clothes to people who can't afford them and things like that. And I do it now. I make a T-shirt and give it to somebody on the street. Just to start now. Because I'm a firm believer in what you're doing now. And you're on the level that you're on. It's just magnified when you get bigger. When you get more money. So yeah, I definitely envision it being on a worldwide, a global brand. So
Nice.
just kind of calculating and recording everything now and enjoying the process and looking forward to the future.
Awesome. So you see yourself, your future self, sitting at tables with execs and the brand, both uh, musically and with traders, growing to the place where ideally you want it to be. Um, what is it that you see that you would need to do in order to continue to reach those goals? Like as for me as entrepreneurs, sometimes I have I guess a dream session or dream, we got the dream boards and vision boards and all of those things. What is it that you would say that we need to continue to do in order to get to that end game?
One, build relationships and relationships are so important. And I think the relationships you build along the way, and then the ones that you have to kind of step out on faith and overcome fear to build. You got to reach out to people. People are so easy to access now. There was an artist I wanted to reach out to, and I felt like, man, this is tacky to reach out to them through Instagram. I asked a friend, they're like, man, that's the way of the world now, man. Send them a message. If they have it open, send them a message. So I think stepping out on faith and reaching out to people. Hey, this is my, I'm doing this. This is, my brand. This is my vision. Can you just check it out? So just continue to take those strides because I'm not a person. I don't just talk to random people. I'm just not that type of individual. But I'm learning to kind of break out of shell a little more because people want to support a people person. So building relationships, respecting those relationships, and then back to what we've been talking about all day, being consistent and having integrity in those relationships, and eventually you'll keep taking steps, to get to where you want to be. But definitely, I think the fundamentals of research, finding out what you need to do to be better at marketing, being not being scared to spend money, to do so. Don't go put your family on the street per se, but sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit and you know maybe not go to the movies or something and spend that money on your brand, on material, on research. Find out what's good ground to sow into and what's not. As far as advertisement. So you definitely make some mistakes, but you got to keep trying and keep reaching and building relationships and taking those faith steps. So.
I love that. So Ellis is a recording artist. He's a husband, father, teacher, coach. He's a worship songwriter, a poet, and this guy has got some great inspirational information to share with us out there, not just for young people, but for old geezers like me that's still out here grinding and trying to take our businesses to the next level. You know what I'm saying? But, please let people know right now where they would be able to reach you, purchase your products, buy your music, give us your contacts.
All right, so with the shirts, you can go to wearetraders.com, and that'll take you to the dropship website that I was actually telling you about. So wearetraders.com will get you there. Instagram, I'm on Instagram, so traders_fashion. And then on Facebook, Earl Dixie Jr., you can reach me on there. And then We Are Traders, also have a Facebook page there as well. And then I'm actually getting ready to release a single here soon, and I'll release it through that page, through my Facebook page and whatnot. You'll be able to pretty much get it on all the internet outlets, Apple Music, and things like that. So
Gotcha. So we got Earl Dix, EARLDIXJR for EarlDixJr.com. They can follow you. Treaders underscore fashion on Instagram, and definitely wearetreaders.com if they want to order shirts, right? Very good. That's
I'm,
good.
it's funny because my brother Roddy's always on me about social media because I'm real old school about social media. I'm not a social media person. I'm learning to be though. It's important.
It is.
Like I said, it's the way, pretty much the way of the world right now. So social media is important. So that's another tip. Use your social media and be consistent on there as well when it comes down to posting stuff. I actually have another Instagram. It's EL_IS18. And there it's more kind of music related. So
Okay. I need to connect with you on that. So,
EL underscore IS 18 also on Instagram.
yes.
Okay.
mhm. Yeah, that's good stuff. We want folks to, definitely support, please. This is, young black men out here doing what they got to do for their families, building businesses, building big brands of high quality, of high integrity. And again, we appreciate everybody that's out there that's been following what we're doing. We try to bring people that are going to inspire you, people that are going to help you take your business to the next level. Many of the things that this young man's already talked about today are valuable not only in the music world, not only in the clothing world, but in whatever business you're starting. You're a construction guy, you want to do contracting, you still got to know who you are, be consistent, keep a schedule, have a vision, all these things that we talk about, have a good team, analyze that team constantly. Sometimes you're going to have the wrong people on the team. Sometimes you got to jump one off, add somebody new, but all of that's going to come with you knowing where you're going and what your vision is, because it's important. And sometimes people are not aligned. Some people just want to be down with what they see as something big and really don't want to put the work in and grind with you. And nobody wants to be that person that's doing all the work and don't have the people on the team that's willing to put their value add into it. So support this young man. And we definitely appreciate you coming on here. Laquita, you have any other questions for this young man?
One other question that I should have asked at the top. What are some of the biggest pitfalls that you would say you would advise a young musician, a young artist to avoid? Some of the things that are, flashy, attractive, that just will not, that it's like, oh no, get away, don't do that.
Something Victor just said actually, and be careful of what we call, uh, just vipers, man. You got people who will take advantage of you. And I remember early on when me and Rodney had first started, and this guy gave us it was supposed to be a record deal, a contract. And that contract, I let somebody read over it, which is wisdom as well. Like as far as any contract, get somebody that understands it better than you to read it. We were getting ready to put ourselves in a pretty bad situation, from percentages and everything, So uh, just don't sign anything that people give you just because to say, oh man, I signed a deal. And there's guys, more successful as independent artists, than some of these guys who are connected to big labels, and they're basically slaves to that label. They're not really seeing their money. Everything you see them flashing, pretty much rented or on some type of credit. So definitely in a sense, be your own boss and make sure that whatever you sign, it's legit and not just to say, all right, I did it. I signed the deal. So that, and also again back to the beginning, people who will try to mold you into something that you're not, because I mean you got to keep that up, that image or whatever they're trying to persuade you to be. Stay true to you. If you know that your message is not to degrade women and promote drugs and things like that, don't sign and do that just because again, what people see in the public and what they see on your social media, they believe it, man. So that may not even be you as a person, and that's what you put out there. So that's what you got to kind of keep up. So be patient. Don't be in a rush for anything. And be patient, man. Use wisdom with contracts and who you connect with.
Yeah, those connections are key. Those connections. I was talking to Dario a couple of weeks ago, and he was asking me. He bought a beat, whatever that means, and And he was reading to me some of the terms of the contract. I was like, can you get your money back? You know? And I don't know if that was industry standard or not. And so, and that's actually what that situation with him and us having to submit that contract to some attorneys for their review for him is what generated that question. It's like, wow, you know, because it was basically, he was just renting it on this basis for this time, and then if he really got big, he still couldn't own it. Like he had to pay more money in order. The more money he made, the more money he was going to have to pay the person where he got it from, and that just didn't seem like that was right to me.
Yeah, one of the worst situations I ran into one time is I bought a track from somebody. It was not an exclusive beat. Basically, it was on lease, but that wasn't explained to me. I just seen the price, you know. So me and Rodney bought the track and we went to a concert, and to hear another artist with that same track, that was pretty embarrassing, you know, especially when, you know, you got people supposed to be doing the original music and whatnot, but it was leased, so the person who sold it wasn't wrong. You know, we just weren't wise enough to read, you know, the fine print, and it was a similar situation, you know. So you got to make sure they're selling you exclusive stuff that's yours, and you know that again they're not trying to get money on the back end, because in most cases either you're going to pay up front or you're going to give a percentage for that track, and you got to find out what's best for you based off where you're at, you know. And you don't want to promise a percentage, and you can't
think about that. That's a good point, Ellis, because Little Nas X, you know, I was listening to something he was talking about where he, you know, the guy with Old Town Road, you know, that went huge hit 2018, 2019. And he bought a track off of online for probably, you know, a few $100s. And look how major and mega that song went. And I don't know how it turned out on the back end, but I'm sure he had to split some of those proceeds and those royalties, you know, probably more than 50% of that money. And so, you know, I've had quite a bit of experience in the music business. 15 years ago, I managed a singing group, and we ended up going to Japan and releasing an album, doing a tour. Slick and Rose is a female duo, neo soul type music. And it was great. Fortunately, we did live music and we got to get paid from concerts. But, you know, releasing that album, you know, had to work some funny contracts. We released it in Japan. It went to number 12 on their charts, but the proceeds didn't come back exactly the same as what you would think they would. So you do have to have legal representation. Again, that goes back to having that team and having somebody that knows what they're doing. Look at that stuff. You might feel like, man, I ain't got $500 to pay this attorney to look that over. That $500 could save you millions. So
really
you know, it's crazy about that.
And you know, with the music relationships, you know, like I have a producer that I pretty much work with for everything. I don't work with a whole lot of people, but because of that, we have understanding. I pay him just like I would pay anybody else. The prices may be different because of relationship, but you know, like you know, Lil Nas. I mean, if a song blows up that he produced, because of our relationship, I'm gonna look out for you later, you know. But you don't want to get trapped, you know, with somebody that doesn't care anything about you, you know. And that's another thing. That's just another tip. When you're, especially with music or anything else, like I'm getting music mixed, make sure whoever you pour money into and that's doing that stuff for you is going to treat your product like they would, you know, if it was a big artist or anybody else. Because you got people who will, you know, drag their feet with your stuff, not give you the best quality just because, and they got your money, and you know, and here you go, this is what you get, you know. So make sure who you're working with, you have at least know enough about them or have a decent relationship with them. That way, you know, they're going to treat it with the same respect that you would, you know. They cared about it, you know, as much as you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's real good information. That's real good information because, like I said, with that, through that experience, it brought about several questions, and as it relates to the industry, it's like, wow, I wonder how often something like this happens, or worse, you know, with young artists, not necessarily just an age, but they're just getting started in this industry, and how often are they deceived like that and not knowing?
Yeah.
Like you said, the price was what was attractive to him.
Right.
How much it was going to cost him, that was what was attractive to him to try to get his project done.
Yeah.
Right. You got to think about this. Some of this music 20, 30 years from now is in commercials and movies. And, you know, you don't want to miss out on that money or have to split, 80% of that go to somebody else and 20% go to you. And it's like, man, you could have been building a true legacy from your intellectual property, but you gave up a good chunk of that equity to somebody else. So anyway, we could go on and on about that stuff. Again, folks, connect with my man Ellis. Great man on this show talking about music. He's, again, a leader, a father, coach, teacher, everything out there, really working with the community, working with young folks out there. I'm just really inspired by what I'm hearing from you, Ellis, and I appreciate you joining us. Real quickly, Laquita, you want to tell them about your business before we wrap things up?
Oh, man. So, yeah. As always, Vic and I, we're coming to you with Create Our Future Self every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we endeavor in this show to actually help entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs alike realize how to create their future self. And we're bringing on our different guests, yes, we do take the time to drop our own plugs and promote our companies and our brand. And with Monley Innovations, which is one of our companies, at Monley Innovations, we provide individuals with opportunities to answer customer service calls right from the convenience of their own home, allowing themselves to have unlimited opportunities through their relationship with our company and their ability to work for multiple different companies and never having to leave their home, where they use our company in order to make their careers fit their lifestyles instead of forcing their lifestyles to fit inside of their careers. And with M5 Real Estate Solutions, we are real estate investors. We buy houses. We flip houses. We help individuals who would not otherwise be able to traditionally buy a house right within our Central Texas area and within the state of Mississippi.
Excellent. And I'm putting those into at least the Facebook links here, the websites. And my company is Nico Don Projects, NICODON Projects with an S at the end. You can catch me at nicodonprojects.com. I, too, am a real estate investor, but more so what I do, my 8 to 5 is helping people improve their credit scores. And it's not just people with low credit scores. Sometimes you're trying to go from 700 to 800. And we help people with that because we realize the benefits of good credit, helping people to leverage additional money. The one of the ways to build wealth is by using other people's money. And it's hard to get other people's money if your credit is not showing that you're worthy of that or they can't trust you with that. So folks out there that are looking for some help or guidance in the credit side, I am a certified credit consultant. I work with an attorney firm, that good stuff. But again, I too am a coach helping people with real estate investing. I'm an inspirational speaker. I love to inspire folks. And I guess that's one of my last questions for you, Ellis, is what do you want to be remembered for? Let's take this opportunity to start sharing with people what it is that we want to be remembered for. So what do you want to be remembered for?
Man, I as a guy who didn't give up, somebody who, went after what they knew they wanted and they kept going until they got it, and again, treaded over those, obstacles and situations, and not only knew the power that you got within, but applied it, so somebody who just stuck with it,
I love that. Laquita, what do you want to be remembered for?
Wow. I think what I would like to be remembered for most, and it may sound weird even as an entrepreneur, but what I would like to be remembered for most is being a wife and a mom. I think that's what I want to be remembered for most of what I was able to bring to the table for my family, and those people whose lives that I've impacted, whatever it was that I did, whether it was ministry, whether it was business. I want people to say, okay, she left a positive impact in my life in some type of way. And what about you?
That's probably a much more important job than any of the businesses that you run. You know what I'm saying? Is impacting those lives and being a mom and a wife for sure. So applaud you for that. For me, I just want to leave behind far more than I took from this earth. You know what I'm saying? If I can just leave something behind, a legacy for my kids to build something on and for their kids, then my job has been done. And not only just my kids, but other folks around me. I just want to, again, just leave a whole lot more behind than I took from this place. So that's my legacy. Continuing to work hard to do that. And again, Ellis, man, thank you so much for your positivity, your energy, your inspiration. Thank you for what you're pouring into our young people out here on a daily basis, man. It makes a difference. It really does. And we appreciate that.
It does.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. Thank you.
No doubt. So y'all check out my man, EarlDixJR.com. Get on this stuff. Check out his Instagram. Get those Treaders_fashion at IG. And yeah, we'll see you guys next Monday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And every Monday, we send out a link on our Facebook. You can check Laquita Monley's page or on mine where you can register for Create Your Future Self Live. We're looking for guests. We're looking for folks to just register. If you want to hear some of these previous episodes, you can register and we'll get it out to you after the show.
Yeah. If you're a real estate professional, if you're in the real estate space, whether it's a realtor, a broker, if you are a loan officer, home appraiser, contractor, if you are a wholesaler, if you're someone that's in the real estate space and you're watching our show and you feel like you have some value to add to our viewers, please don't hesitate to reach out to Vic and myself so that we can have a conversation and see about scheduling to bring you on the show. Vic, tell us about our guy next week. We got a great guy coming on next week. Think he's out of the Dallas area there, isn't he? A young promoter. I love what you call it. A young Diddy there that's making moves in the marketing space. Wow. Okay. So Vic has lost the ability right there. So we've got a special guest coming on next week. And he's out of the Dallas area. So, and again, he flows kind of in the same zone as you, Earl. He's up there and he's helping entrepreneurs. He's helping people in the music industry, in arts and entertainment to be able to market themselves and brand themselves. And as entrepreneurs, no matter what space you're in, marketing and branding and promotion is key to your business, because if people don't know you exist, they cannot buy your goods or services. So
I'll be tuning in.
Yeah, you have to let people know that you're out there. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have any comments or questions to ask throughout the week, hit us up in the feed and we'll be answering those questions and responding to those comments throughout the course of the week. And we look forward to seeing everybody again on next Monday. Thanks so much.
All right, thank y'all.
All right.